The secret of the dark-eyed children who roam Oregon since the 80s. In the quaint coastal town of Seaside, Oregon, folklore whispered through the salty air, carrying secrets darker than the midnight tide. Tales spoke of children with dark, haunting eyes, prowling the streets after dusk, their curious gazes piercing through dreams and lighting up the imaginations of gripped listeners. They weren't just children, they were the echoes of an unsolved mystery. Some said they were spirits of the lost, lingering behind in search of redemption, while others claimed they were guardians of a sinister truth. Every corner of the town seemed to pulse with stories of them, each one more chilling than the last. Dr. Lily Hunter felt the weight of these tales pressing down on her as she stepped off the bus, the briny ocean breeze swirling around her. A sigh of unease escaped her lips. She hadn't been home in years. Her connection to this place was tangled in memories, particularly of her est. There, she encountered a historian named Edgar, a mysterious man with knowing eyes, and a voice that dripped with curiosity about the past. He spoke of forgotten truths hidden beneath the town's placid surface, of connections to Tammy's disappearance that twisted like the tempestuous waves. But the townsfolk, guarded and suspicious, were like shadows flitting past her peripheral vision. They exchanged murmurs laden with judgment, eyes darting away as she approached. What were they hiding? Each interaction tightened the knot in her gut. She could almost feel the pulse of their collective fears closing in around her. Was she stepping into a web spun with secrets too tied to her own identity? The energy was thick, a blend of anticipation and dread. As the storm brewed outside, rage and despair mirrored within her. She stood at the window, the waves crashing violently against the shore, and glanced back at Edgar with a growing sense of urgency. What lay ahead could either destroy H. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. As the wind howled like an untamed beast, Dr. Lily Hunter stood at the library window, the glow from the lamp barely keeping at bay the encroaching darkness of the storm. Edgar's intense gaze bore into her soul, a mixture of understanding and concern flickering in his eyes. The distant thunder sounded almost like the past calling out, begging to be heard. "What do you know about Tammy?" she pressed, her voice a breathy whisper, laced with desperation. Edgar leaned back slightly, the shadows playing across his sharp features. "Tammy Miller was no ordinary girl, Lily. There's more to her story than what the townsfolk are willing to share." A chill slithered down her spine. "What do you mean?" "They believe she was taken," he continued, his tone somber. "But what if she didn't just vanish? What if she chose to disappear? What if those dark-eyed children, what if they have something to do with her fate?" Lily's he. "Some think they offer solace. Others believe they are harbingers of truth." The storm intensified outside. Heavy raindrops pounded the roof like frantic drumbeats. Each beat resonated with a growing sense of dread inside her. She felt the weight of her father's past and her own grief merging with the town's sinister secrets. Suddenly, the lights flickered and then plunged the room into darkness. A scream echoed outside, slicing through the silence like a knife. It sent her heart racing. Edgar's expression shifted, turning serious. "Something's happening. We must go." He grabbed her wrist, and together they burst from the library into the chaos of the storm. The world outside had transformed into a wild tableau of wind and rain, chaos wreaking havoc on seaside streets. Lily's eyes darted left and right, searching for the source of the cry. In the distance, a figure stood near the pier, flickering under the sporadic flashes of lightning. "Is that?" she breathed. The fee, staggering forward, rain cascading off them like a spectral veil. The child's expression was blank, and then, just as another crash of thunder roared, she dropped to her knees, clutching something to her chest. "Lily, look!" Edgar's voice broke through the chaos. Lily gasped. The child's hands revealed a small item, a locket buried in the soaked earth. The same locket she had seen in her father's photograph, the one wearing the image of Tammy Miller. It was undeniable. "Where did you find that?" The question escaped her lips, filled with urgent disbelief. The dark-eyed child lifted her gaze to meet Lily's, her eyes reflecting the storm's fury and a strange, unsettling wisdom. "She needs you, Lily. Only you can save her." Each word hung in the air like a heavy fog, echoes of truth resonating. Lily shook her head, disbelief mingling with a rising tide of emotions. "Save her? But she's gone. She's been gone for years." Suddenly, the child turned her head sharply, as if just then, the ground beneath them trembled. A low rumble echoed, rising from the depths like a sleeping giant awakening. Edgar caught Lily before she could stumble back. They stared wide-eyed as the ocean surged violently, waves rising to heights they had never seen, as if the sea itself was trying to rebuke the forgotten tales. "Run!" Edgar shouted, yanking her away from the rushing tide. But Lily couldn't move. The child remained kneeling, staring, that same haunted expression frozen on her face. As the water crashed against the pier, a booming voice resonated, strange and guttural, yet familiar. "You all must know the truth." The crowd began to scatter, screams and shouts mingling with the thunder, drowning out the haunting call. Edgar held tight to her as panic enveloped them. "Lily," he shouted again, urgency flooding his words. "We need to go, now!" She tore her gaze away, grasping the child's small hand. "Wait, what do you mean? Don't you understand?" Could it be? Could Tammy truly still be alive? The shocking realization twisted her heart. The child shook in fear, her eyes mirroring the storm's rage. Then, without warning, the ground quaked more violently than before. The crashing waves surged, and from the water, something broke the surface. A figure, soaked and shimmering, rising from the depths. Time seemed to freeze as the dark-eyed child's gaze shifted toward the shadow emerging. "Tammy!" Lily cried, a surge of hope flaring before her. But confusion and a deep pit of dread twisted in her stomach. Could this truly be her friend? As the figure rose higher, revealing familiar features, all she felt was a rush of emotions, the longing, the confusion, the flood of questions. Then, through the torrent of chaos, the figure's gaze met hers, and within it, a revelation shattered everything she thought she knew. There was no warmth, no recognition, only a profound emptiness that echoed louder than the storm that raged around him. The truth was about to surface, and it might tear apart the fragile threads of her existence. Lily was left standing there, heart thundering, caught between fear and a yearning for answers. Was it really Tammy? Or was it something darker, more sinister? Lily! Edgar's voice broke through the tumult, pulling her from the brink. But was it too late to turn back? With the storm still raging, and secrets swirling in the air like the wind, she knew one thing for certain. She had to confront whatever truth lay ahead, even if it shattered everything she held dear. The darkness clawed at her, whispering promises and lies alike. But she felt an unyielding urge to step forward into the unknown. Because somewhere, beneath the waves, a secret waited to be uncovered. One that would change everything. Lily stood frozen, heart racing in her chest. The figure emerging from the ocean was both beautiful and terrifying. Like a mirage, Lily, came the echo, like someone whispering from a long way away. I'm here. But as the lightning flashed again, illuminating the piercing emptiness in Tammy's eyes, like deep, fathomless pits, something shifted. The crowd around them wavered, shadowed faces suddenly uncertain. Whispers of disbelief ricocheted off the soaked pavement. "Stay back!" someone cried out from the gathering crowd, eyes wide with fear. "It's not her! It's a trap!" Lily's breath hitched. "What do you mean? A trap?" The child with dark eyes, who had been kneeling, whispered urgently, just before fading into the shadows, "You must remember the truth." Then, as if the storm itself answered her plea, a crack of thunder rumbled violently through the air, and the world began to shift. The locket in the child's hand glinted even in the dim light, shimmering. It seemed to pulse, connecting Lily and Tammy across the space. Strings weaving their fates together in a tapestry of confusion. "Lily!" Edgar pulled. Then she called, "If it's really you, show me a sign." Suddenly, the figure turned fully towards her, and the once familiar features twisted and melted away, like mist dispersing in the breeze. What stood in front of her now was not Tammy, but a reflection of her deepest fears. "Remember me?" The voice was different now, croaking and low, like gravel scraping against the ground. "Remember what you did?" The world spun. Lily stumbled backward, her heart pounding in her throat. "What do you mean? I didn't do anything. Do you not remember?" The figure changed again, flickering like a faulty bulb, and in a blink it shifted into a ghastly visage, holding her gaze with an intensity that froze her marrow. It loomed larger, long fingers pointing directly at her, accusing. "You made a choice, Lily. You chose to forget." "No!" she gasped. "I would never!" The crowd watched in a mixture of horror and fascination. They whispered among themselves, eyes darting like frightened anim. But Lily was lost, trapped in this vortex of dread that threatened to crush her spirit beneath its weight. "You don't believe me?" the figure hissed. The wind howled, carrying its words like a chilling breeze. "You can run, but you can't hide from the past." In that moment, a deafening roar erupted from the ocean. Waves crashed violently against the pier, sending a spray of salty foam into the air. The library behind them trembled, as if the town itself was awakening from a long sleep, revealing secrets buried deep beneath its surface. "Edgar!" Lily cried, clutching his arm as panic washed over her like cold water. "Help me! What's happening?" "I don't know," he shouted, his voice strained amid the chaos. But something is coming. Something tied to this night. Just as the figure opened its mouth to speak, Lily felt a rumble beneath her feet. Just when she thought the tide would swallow her whole, something even more shocking happened. The dark-eyed child reappeared in front of her, eyes wide and pleading. "You have to listen. It's not just about her. It's about you and what you've been running from." "Me?" Lily gasped, confusion swirling like the storm around them. "I don't understand." But before the child could respond, a loud explosion rocked the pier. The sound of metal tearing apart like paper was deafening. Confusion erupted. People screamed. Some fell backward, while others pushed forward in panic. In that split second, secrets that had been kept hidden for years came tumbling out. The ocean roared, a voice intertwined with memories, fierce and terrible. "You're not the one who should be afraid." The child pointed into the tumult, and through the chaos, something emerged. Not from the ocean, but from the crowd. A familiar silhouette. "Dad?" Lily yelled, confusion splintering through her mind, like he was stumbling forward, face pale, eyes flickering with recognition. He reached for her, but it wasn't fear she saw in his eyes. It was dread. "You shouldn't have come back, Lily!" he roared, his voice lost in the fray. "You don't know what you've woken!" Her heart twisted painfully. "What do you mean? What are you hiding?" He faltered, and in that tiny moment of hesitation, she felt the world closing in, the storm around her howling with fury. "It's not just the children," he said. "It's what happened before, what we did. You're part of something much bigger." The revelation struck her like lightning. "What do you mean? What did we do?" But before he could answer, the wave crashed down with a violent fury, and everything exploded into chaos. Water filled the air, and a curtain of darkness enveloped her. "Lily, remember," came a voice, but it was drowned out by the roar of the tempest. In the swirling chaos, her world flipped upside down, and as she gasped for breath, everything she had believed could vanish in a heartbeat, and what they had run from was rising, clear as day, from beneath the waves. The struggle to stand firm against the storm became increasingly desperate. All at once, she realized that the true question wasn't just about saving Tammy or facing the dark-eyed children. The question was about her own identity and the haunting truth that had stubbornly clutched her. Was she part of the solution or part of the problem? As the darkness loomed closer, she felt the tether to reality snapping, and everything she thought she knew began to quake. Would she rise with the truth or be lost to the depths forever? The wind howled and the waves roared, leaving her gasping in uncertainty, as the shadows twisted and swirled around her, binding her to a truth that was more dangerous than she could imagine. The storm, the darkness, was just the beginning. Lily's heart thundered wildly as she stared at the figure rising from the ocean. "Everything, Lily," the figure echoed, voice soft yet hollow, like a whisper trapped in the winds. The familiarity of the name sent waves of uncertainty crashing through her mind. But as she squinted against the rain, the figure's shape began to shimmer, flickering like a candle on the verge of going out. That's when she noticed it. The emptiness in Tammy's eyes wasn't just sorrow. It felt darker, more profound, as if it held secrets that twisted deeper than the ocean itself. No, this can't be, Lily's thoughts spiraled. This isn't you! The figure stepped forward, and in an instant, the air thickened, a palpable shift that made her shiver. The crowd gasped, people stepping back instinctively, eyes wide with a mix of horror and fascination. But Lily couldn't move. The storm felt like it was peeling away layers of her reality, exposing a truth she wasn't ready to face. "Remember?" The voice twisted, sharp with an edge of accusation. "You choose to bury it all, to forget. You have to understand!" With a sudden burst of rage, the figure lunged closer, the air crackling with energy. "You buried the past, Lily. You can't escape it. You owe her!" The ground quaked violently again, and the wave of realization crashed down upon her like water. Secret shadows danced at the periphery of her mind. Memories long hidden clawed their way to the surface. Somewhere behind her, voices fractured into screams, but she couldn't tear free from the figure's grip on her consciousness. "What do you mean?" she gasped. "What do I owe her? What did I forget?" In that split moment of chaos, the entire world spun. Colors blurred and shifted, and suddenly, the memories collided with her reality. In vivid scenes of laughter, "You think you're the victim?" it hissed. "You aren't innocent in this." Before Lily could respond, a deafening roar erupted from the ocean, and breaking through the waves emerged a massive creature. Scales glittering in the storm's light, edged in shadows. Fear wrapped around her throat like a vice. "Witness her true self," the figure shouted. Yet something in their tone twisted reality. The creature was massive and wild, embodying the whispers of every dark-eyed child of Seaside, emanating both fear and an aching longing. Its gaze locked onto Lily, igniting another kind of recognition deep within her. And then everything shattered. An explosion of light and sound filled the night. The waves crashed less than a moment later, sending a wall of water cascading toward the crowd. "Lily!" Edgar shrieked, pulling her backward. "Get away!" But she couldn't move. The truth was clawing its way to the surface, and the storm howled in affirmation. It was now or never. Just as then, across the crowd, Lily's vision sharpened on her father, stumbling toward them with an expression carved from fear and regret. A look she'd never seen before. "Lily!" he shouted again, desperation in his voice. "You don't know what you're doing. You need to listen." "Dad!" she yelled, confusion bursting in her chest. "What's happening? What's going on?" The figure returned to become that haunting reflection of Tammy. "You think you can escape it all?" The voice pulled her back. "You've tied your fate to a choice you made long ago." From the corner of her eye, she noticed the dark-eyed child reappear, woven in and out of shadows. "It's time for you to decide," echoed from its lips, drawing her attention, but it was too late. The crushing wave, the truth, was upon them. In a split second, Lily lunged forward, just as the creature lunged for her too, wanting to shield the child, who was shouting something she couldn't discern. The world exploded around her. But then, the connection between them was undeniable. They weren't just caught in a storm, they were tethered to something far deeper. The echo of pain reached back to her own childhood, layered with memories of Tammy and their shared bond, filled with laughter and quiet moments, long before everything spiraled into chaos. "Lily, listen!" her father roared over the roaring waters, but she could barely register his words. "You're part of something bigger. We never meant to." Darkness closed in, and their connection twisted around her heartstrings, Truth and betrayal blended into one. But just as she caught a glimpse of understanding, she felt a jolt through her body. The ocean churned violently, the air thickened with charged energy, and a blinding flash erupted through the storm, illuminating everything around them for a breath, like the eye of a storm. Then came the shattering moment. A voice broke through the storm, crystal clear and commanding. "It's time to expose the truth." Just before the darkness consumed everything, she heard one final whisper, echoing from deep within the shadows. "Only you can restore what was lost." And in that moment, fear settled in her bones as every truth spun out of control. Who was she really? What had she done? And could she face the darkness within herself before it was too late? The chaos enveloped her as the storm roared, swallowing her whole, and leaving behind only the reflection of a girl who had to face the monster she had unknowingly become. Lily stood in the chaotic swirl of the storm, the figure looming before her, distorting into every heartbreak she had ever felt. The memories crashed in like waves, filling her head with whispers of the past she had tried so hard to forget. Light flickered, casting shadows, and in that moment, she grappled with understanding her truth. "Lily." Her father's voice broke through the disarray, urgency lacing his tone. "You must remember." But how could she? The weight of... "Run!" someone screamed, the cry echoing against the eerie stillness that suddenly enveloped them all. But Lily couldn't move, couldn't think. She felt tethered to this moment, clinging to the truth she sought, pulled deeper down as if the ocean itself hungered for her answers. "Lily!" Edgar's voice cut through her haze again. "Don't look away!" The figure shifted into something even more distorted. It wasn't just a reflection of Tammy. It felt as if it was a part of her. "You wanted to forget. You wanted to be free. But that freedom comes at a cost," it snarled, its voice echoing like thunder. From behind her father, she saw confusion in the faces of those gathered. The onlookers, the frightened townsfolk who had known the whispers of the dark-eyed children. "Help us, Lily!" someone shouted, breaking through the crowd. "It's not just you. We're tied to this too." Awareness hit her like a slap. They weren't just bystanders. They were connected. Every single person who... She shouted into the storm, desperation clawing at her throat. A silence fell again, sharp enough to cut. The dark-eyed child, now a flicker in the shadows, stepped forward with quivering lips. "You've woken something that was never meant to be disturbed." Suddenly, the ground shuddered violently beneath her feet. Lily stumbled, the world tilting. "Stay together!" her father yelled, trying to rally everyone. But she felt a rift forming between them. The monster paused, its massive head turning in her direction, eyes narrowing. With a piercing shriek, it lunged at her, roaring with a primal fury that resonated deep within her. In that moment, something clicked in her mind, a memory bubbling to the surface, like air escaping a submerged weight. "No!" she yelled, her voice rising above the storm. "I won't let you take me!" The oceans boiled, and for a fleeting second, she could see the chaotic swirl of lost souls trapped in the beast. The drowned memories of those who had vowed, "I'm not afraid of you. I'm not afraid of anything anymore." As she stepped close, everything hit a fever pitch. The skies rumbled in protest, the wind screaming, and just as she reached out toward the ominous form, a flash of light enveloped them all. Time stopped. The world fell silent. She blinked, and there, right in front of her, she saw a sudden shift. The creature froze in place. The madness faded. The tempest calmed. And with an explosive force, the figure transformed into a blinding light that illuminated everything. Shadows retreating like they've been banished. A vision unfolded like a movie playing out in real time. Lily felt her heart race as clarity surged through her. Memories intertwined with emotions overflowed, intertwining them in ways she had never imagined possible. The creature was not just a manifestation of her fears, but a representation of every wound, every secret connectedness, every lie buried deep. In that moment, the essence of everyone she loved. She's the cause. The monster draws its power from her. No, Lily shouted, but doubt laced her shout. Could they be right? Suddenly, the spectral vision fractured. The light flickered like a fluorescent bulb, mimicking the darkness that had clouded her mind. You can't escape the truth, Lily. The voice roared back again, the darkness slithering like smoke. You are the monster. The phrase echoed, jarring something deep within. Memory shifted to a heartbreaking cadence. Her father's face filled with shame, her mother's tears, the smiles of the children who had vanished. Each one fell into place like pieces of a long-forgotten puzzle. No, no, she murmured, shaking her head in disbelief. I didn't do anything. The world began to spin again, the calm replaced with a rushing tide. Fear rippled through the crowd, voices fraught with a stunning revelation. Where did it all go wrong? Someone yelled. Desperation thick in the air. Is this all because of her? Lily's heart sank, and panic gripped her in its cold embrace. Lily, her father called, we need to talk, now. Tears stung her eyes as she looked at his terrified face. Realization dawning. The monster, the truth. It was all intertwined within her. The children, Tammy, and every secret buried at the bottom of the ocean, twisted back to her very being. I didn't mean... I wanted to forget, she choked out. Her legs felt weak, wavering on the edge of uncertainty. If I'm the cause, then what did I do? A surge of rage erupted within her. Was she nothing but a puppet in their tale? Suddenly, the shadows seemed to shift, vibrating with recognition, slipping around her like old friends. Remember, the dark-eyed child whispered one last time. You alone hold the key to the truth. An icy dread sliced through like a knife. Everyone stared at her expectantly, believing she held the answers, believing she was the monster. Clarity ripped through the fog, but just when she thought, it recoiled and began to transform. The scales shimmered brightly, swirling together until the bound soul of the creature broke free, releasing hundreds of flickering lights sparkling above. Each light pulsed, each one a heartbeat of the past and present intertwined. Lily, it's time to find your heart. And just like that, the truth began to unravel like a spool of yarn coming undone. Her innocence stripped bare, the responsibilities once placed on her shoulders washed away. From the sea of lights, she saw faces emerge, her family, the lost children, the essence of every life entwined with hers. But then, one voice erupted above the rest, filled with haunting familiarity. Lily, you must make your choice. She turned, eyes wide, trembling. But it wasn't just Tammy's voice. It was her father. He loomed in the distance, tugging at the strands of truth, revealing deeper secrets buried within their family. Decide now, or will all be lost. Her heart raced. This was it. Make your choice, Lily. Fear trembled in the wind, mixed with anticipation. She had come so far, and yet stood at the precipice of her fate, wondering if the choice she was about to make would save her soul or plunge her further into the depths. And with the weight of expectation lingering in her veins, she couldn't help but whisper, "What if the truth is even worse than the lie?" As the storm raged once more, Lily stared into the darkness, pulse quickening. The unknown waited to consume her, and she couldn't tell if she was ready. Would she brave the depths of her own soul, or remain shackled to the choices made long ago? Every inch of her trembled, knowing that the path ahead veered into uncharted waters, filled with echoes of torment and resignation. And as the winds howled, tearing at the fabric of her reality, she felt the question linger like a ghost, haunting her. Could she truly find freedom in facing the truth? Or would it swallow her whole? Lily stood there, heart hetch. "We're all counting on you." She blinked, trying to ground herself in the reality of the moment. The creature's monstrous shape shifted beneath the heavy raindrops, forming into faces she recognized. People she had loved, those who had disappeared, their souls tangled in the waters of her past. "That's it!" she shouted suddenly, her voice cracking. "You draw your power from me!" The monster twisted, caught off guard, and for a heartbeat, silence enveloped them. The crowd held its breath. Confusion electrified the air as everyone locked eyes on her, doubt, fear, and a ghost of hope mingling in their expressions. "Lily, no!" Edgar's warning shot through the quiet. "Don't acknowledge it!" But it was too late. The air shimmered, pulsing with intensity, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. "I won't let you control me. I didn't cause your pain," she cried, stepping forward, each stride affirming her resolve. Tension crackled in the space between them. Like a tiger, with each beat, she could sense the darkness inching closer, seeking to pull her under. Just as she braced herself for what might come next, a bright flash cut through the raging storm. A figure emerged in that blinding light, stepping from the shadow of the monster. Lily! It was her mother, anxiety wrapping around her voice like a shroud. "You must listen! You don't understand what's happening!" Mom? Surprised tears threatened to spill, but she steeled herself. "What do you mean? I failed to protect you. You let the darkness in," her mother pleaded, anguish etched across her features. "You're part of this nightmare, not the victim." "No," she shouted back, voice trembling at the revelation. "You think I wanted this? You think I'm to blame?" The crowd buzzed with tension. Whispers ricocheted through the air, darting between shock and disbelief. Her father squeezed through frantic bodies, desperation cleaving his expression. "Stop!" he cried, reaching out toward. This isn't the time to debate faults. But before he could take another step, the very earth rumbled. The creature writhed, swirling around like a storm cyclone, rising higher, shadows melding and shifting in its depths, until the faces twisted into something far more sinister. "Make it stop!" someone cried out, panic shattering the collective tension. "This can't be real." Suddenly, the memories of everyone who had suffered began to flash around them. Tammy's laughter morphing into haunting cries, the faces of the lost mingling with anger. "You are bound to us forever," they screeched, merging into one another, voices echoing, trembling like glass about to shatter. The moment felt heavy, pregnant with unspoken truths. Lily's heart raced as she realized the impending darkness closing in. "No more lies," something within her roared. "If this is my truth, if I must face it, then let's end this game." The storm culminated in a violent crescendo. The creature lunged forward. Shadows warped as the wind howled, as if time itself bent under the weight of her words. Yet just as she thought she had harnessed the chaos, a rippling shockwave shattered the air. "I will show you," the creature bellowed, eyes narrowing in fury. "You think you can outrun your fate?" The ground jolted beneath them, and suddenly, without warning, the horrific truth unraveled before her. The figure, her mother, shifted. With pulse-quickening horror, Lily watched as the face morphed, twisted into something that wasn't her mother anymore, but a reflection of the monster itself. "You brought me here." "No!" Lily screamed, dread coursing through her veins. "What are you doing?" "It'll all be clear soon," the figure whispered, allowing the shadows to wrap around them, drawing her into the depths. With urgency, Lily felt the walls of her reality compressing, every truth flipping on its head. The crowd murmured, eyes wide, taking a step back as they felt the shift. "Lily!" Ed, as fear tightened her throat, she pushed forward, trying to untangle reality from deception. "I am not just an echo," she shouted, her voice almost swallowed by the wind. "Stop this! I will not be a tool for your darkness!" Suddenly, a wave of energy knocked her back. The creature bristled, pulling back as if hit by an unseen force. The air crackled, and she caught a glimpse of something in the shadow. The dark-eyed child. They stood still, watching everything unfold, their intensity piercing through the chaos. "Lily!" they shouted back, raw and effortless. "Your heart will decide." Lily gasped, and in that moment of vulnerability, a surge of adrenaline coursed through her. The darkness clawed at her edges, but she felt it, the shimmer of hope igniting within her. But then a thundering crack echoed above, as if the sky itself had split open. With reverberating power, a brilliant flash of light dropped from the clouds, crashing down into the heart of the storm. The growl. Lily could barely move, frozen by the mystical power writhing above her. The cacophony swirled until the last vestiges of the creature evaporated into the tempest. And then, as suddenly as it had begun, everything fell silent. The light shimmered and faded into thin air, revealing a frantic landscape marked with vulnerability. The crowd stood still, confusion etched across their expressions, trying to comprehend what had just happened. But as the calm washed over them, another piercing realization struck Lily. "Mom?" She struggled to breathe, her voice barely a whisper. "Is that really you?" The figure before her, once grotesque, slowly began to morph again, revealing the familiar visage, but with an unsettling glimmer in its eyes. "Lily." A soft, familiar voice filled the air, chilling her spine. "You don't know everything." The shadows shifted and twisted around her. Suddenly, the crowd gasped, stepping back in unison. Edgar's expression froze in horror. "No, no!" "But Wait!" she cried. "What are you saying?" "It's not over." The voice echoed from beyond, drowning out her cries. "What you seek to destroy, what you seek to forget, will always return." The tide surged like a wildfire, lapping at her feet, washing in whispers of every regret, every tragic ending. darkness descended, reclaiming what it deemed its own. As the waves began to swirl once more around her, dread settled deep within her core. Everything she had believed shattered like glass. In that split second of confusion, she grasped the truth. She could never truly escape the secrets of her family. The echoes that resounded in the depths of the ocean, tied intricately to who she was. And in the swirling chaos, as shadows rushed back, she felt the weight of history pressing down, begging her to confront what she had long tried to bury. The storm raged, unforgiving, fierce, carrying all that once was, yet again demanding to be faced. With everything unspooling around her, she could. You turned away from me. You left. The specter's expression hardened, lips pulling into a thin line. I did what I had to do, to protect you. Protect me? She laughed bitterly, an edge of hysteria slicing through her voice. You call this protection? You've just brought a real nightmare home. The creature's roar echoed through the night, vibrating against her bones. It rippled, confirming the monster had absorbed not just fear, but something she couldn't grasp fully. The air crackled, swirling with energy as the storm's fury seemed to bathe the crowd, electrifying them with fear and disbelief. I'm not afraid of you, Lily shouted, embracing a sliver of confidence. Something had to shift. They had to escape this cycle. The creature intensified, its darkness sparked by the mounting tension around her. Shadows rolled across the crowd, swallowing light and hope. Those whispers of the past clawed at her mind, a terrible engine constantly reminding her of choices made. And, remember why I did it? You'll understand soon enough. Understand? How could she? Everything was wrapped in ghostly echoes. In that moment, the creature lurched forward, massive jaws snapping inches away, teeth gleaming like knives poised to strike. Mom, run! She shouted, as the waves crashed violently, sending sprays of salty mist into the air. But the shadows did not relent. Every ounce of conviction wavered as doubt crept in. Was her mother right? Was this all some twisted fate? The air chilled around them, silence swallowing all sound. Stop! Lily screamed, a primal roar escaping. And just then, she felt something deep within her, a surge growing stronger. It ignited every fear and pain, amplifying it until it swelled to consume her. She focused with every fiber of her being. What if she embraced all of it? The light surged from her, breaking free like a phoenix erupting from the ashes. A blinding flare pierced the dark void surrounding them, illuminating their faces, every expression caught in a spell of disbelief, pain, and fleeting hope. I am not your prisoner, Lily declared, the declaration echoing. Every ounce of the storm intensified around her, a raucous thunderclap punctuating her resolve. And as if in answer, the creature convulsed, shadows breaking apart like glass, revealing veiled figures entwined in collective desperation. Time froze for a heartbeat. A blinding light enveloped the tortured landscape, and she saw it, the hidden forms of the lost children, trapped in their misery and tied to her mother. Their faces flickered. Tammy's haunting gaze pierced her heart, urging her to uncover something crucial. No, not you, she whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks, confusion knotting in her stomach. You can't be part of this! But as the parade of lost souls approached, something shocking pulled her attention. Among them stood a face she repeated. Everything started weaving into a horrific tapestry, the darkness collapsing in on itself. The bizarre twist spiraled deeper, roots running through every soul trapped. Her mother's ties to those lost in the sea. Every whispered fear now crushing her spirit. "It was always your choice," Lisa proclaimed, a wisp of defiance laced in her tone. "You wanted to forget, but you can't." "Don't you dare say that!" Lily shouted, pain lacing her voice, desperation bleeding out. "You can't do this! You don't understand! What did you sacrifice?" In that heartbeat, the world peeled away. The storm gathered strength again, pulsing tightly. Time twisted as memories exploded around her, the darkness swirling faster until it coalesced into one bone-chilling truth. The light flared again, revealing a storm of emotions, betrayal and despair, all tangled together. "I didn't leave you," Lisa insisted, stepping closer, intensity swirling in the air. "You left me behind when you chose to run, I was there." Lisa screamed, the words slicing through the turmoil. "And you never asked why? Why we were taken? It wasn't just about me. It was about you. About what lay beneath." The crowd turned, whispers scurrying like frightened animals. A knot of panic formed within. Every face was suddenly pivotal as the forgotten resurfaced. Faces flickering in the storm, eyes wide with both fear and recognition. "Too late to protect!" An anguished voice chimed from the shadows. "Even you hid from the truth. How could you? We were friends," Lily cried. The revelation hit her. This was the connection, all of it interwoven and placed like a puzzle tossed in the chaos. "What are you saying?" But Lisa's expression suddenly changed, eyes dulling into a stony gaze, the innocence flickering out. "There's something bigger, a truth woven into everything. You and I, we were never just kids, lost by the shore." Lily stumbled back, struggling to catch her breath, heart racing. What? And then came the earth-shattering twist. A moment shattered reality. "All of us were chosen," Lisa declared, a shimmer of darkness clouding her eyes. "By the sea, by the shadows, we are the storm. Every dark-eyed child, every lost soul, we're part of their legacy." Suddenly, everything shifted again. As Lily grappled with Lisa's words, the air pulsed violently. A faint shadow emerged, twisting behind them, brightening into something painfully familiar. "No!" Lily's scream echoed in the wind as that same figure emerged, her mother once more, eyes burning with depth and fury. The entity hadn't transformed. It had warped into something even more insidious. "Do you see?" her mother boomed, voice unyielding. "You can't escape it, Lily. We are bound by destiny. You were always meant to be here." "Bound?" Lily shouted, everything crashing down like a tidal wave. "I didn't choose this." But her resolve shook under the power of and then, shock hitting her like an icy surge from the ocean depths. She caught the flickering ghost of familiarity again. A face beneath the shadows flashed, her own. "No," she gasped, stepping back. "What do you mean I'm one of you?" "Not just one, Lily," Lisa said, anger simmering under the surface. "We are a part of the tide, a legacy, one that we cannot forsake." In that dreadful moment, clarity struck like lightning again. The truth unraveled. The pieces of herself she had long tried to hide, ripped free of the past, pulsating with power she never realized existed. The storm clawed at her, shadows gliding closer, darker intentions swirling. In the chaos, she was left with one burning question. Who was she really? Was she merely a pawn in a game larger than herself, a part of something eternal and unfathomable? The realization sank deeper, and a wave crashed down, pulling her along in its fury. With the storm still raging, everything she had ever believed clawed at her. The shadows edged closer. The reality of it all danced just beyond her grasp. The tide rolled forward, embracing her in darkness, leaving her desperate for dawn. Lily stood frozen as uncertainty washed over her, heart racing in rhythm with the storm that still raged around them. The realization that she was bound to this moment, grappling with the shadows of her friends and family, sent a chill down her spine. The faces of those who had been lost blurred before her, but within the chaos, she struck the determined chord in her voice. "I am not your prisoner." Then, in the blinding light, she recognized that echo, a reflection of everything she had suppressed. A truth not just about them, but also about her. The shadows coiled closer, almost mocking. They crept silently, whispers chasing each other in the wind. "We will reclaim what is ours." Lisa's voice pierced through the tension again, sharper than ever. Panic ignited in the crowd, but just as fear surged forward, a sudden, "You have to listen." His voice rang out, ripping through the chants of despair. The shadows recoiled at his command, causing a ripple of apprehension among the onlookers. But then, like a scene unfolding in slow motion, a flash of something bright pierced the darkness. The air crackled around Lily, igniting as her father took a step forward, reaching out toward the figure of her mother. A silence enveloped them. Tension hung in the air, like a cable stretched taut, waiting to snap. "Let's end this," her father shouted, heartache lacing every syllable. But the moment shattered when he flicked his gaze toward Lily, who stood rooted. "You don't understand what you have to do to break this curse." Suddenly, it struck her, a reality that made her blood run cold. "What curse?" she stammered, disbelief choking her. Yet the words hung in the air like a storm cloud. The crowd murmured. Nervous glances exchanged as unease rippled through them. She felt the weight of every embodied. "You can't let them take you. Not again." Her heart raced. It felt like the ground beneath her warped, threatening to swallow her whole. "What do you mean, not again?" But that question hung in the air, unanswered. The shadows twisted, shadows cast from figures of her past, children with dark, empty eyes, swirling like smoke. "I can't," she gasped, stumbling back, the realization pummeling her chest. What past remained buried? "It's not my fault." "Oh, but it is." Her mother's voice echoed, chilling her to the bone. "You didn't listen before. You ran from what you are, Lily." And then came another jolt, something immense, something powerful, and all at once the storm transformed. In a blink, the monstrous figure shattered, sent flying apart into sparks of black and light. Lily felt a rush of clarity fill the air. What's happening?" she shouted, frantic, as the shadows morphed into familiar faces. Lisa stepped forward, eyes ablaze. "You thought saving us would be easy." Her voice trembled, battling against the onslaught of pain and realization. "I'm saying you're part of it all. The darkness, the whispers." She pointed at the group, each heavy gaze converging on Lily, pressing down like a weight. "You hold the key. Only you can free us, and yourself." Lily's breath hitched. Something unfathomable twisted inside her, a dark promise she always feared. "You can't mean what you just said," she gasped. I've been lost. I can't be part of this. But the chaos swelled again. The past swirled and mixed with every scream that echoed into the storm, the way the waves crashed against the pier. The truth grew sharper, igniting strands of unrelenting memories, yearning to break free. Time stretched, and amidst that chaos emerged a horrifying twist. "Mom, stop!" Lily cried, feeling her heart pounding in response to the surge of shadows looming. "What are you keeping from me?" But just then, the ground beneath them fractured, revealing, with another flash, everything shifted again. Lily saw it. Buried beneath her feet, under all fears and regrets, lay the shards of past secrets. Shadows flickered with faces of those who had vanished, discontent replacing the air. "All your choices come at a cost," her mother shouted, time seeming to bend with the weight of her words. "You're not just any child. You are an embodiment of this darkness." "No!" Lily screamed, shock rippling through her veins like ice. "I won't accept that." But the chaos roared, revealing the truth, voices of past friends gelid, merging into echoes. Every face felt familiar, yet grotesque, intertwined in consequence. "You can't outrun this," they cried in chorus, shadows reflecting their pain. And then came the eruption. The ground beneath her split wide open, the shadows dragging her deeper, reaching through darkness that gnawed at her spirit. Each shadow whispered more secrets. Longing, betrayal, the sharp thorns of childhood associations that, she shouted. Just as that hope sparked anew, reality shifted, the shadows untangling in an overwhelming twist. Her family, the lost children, every echo pulled at her. The threads of their fates, the dark history binding them all through time. And within that maelstrom, the deepest betrayal hit like a smack, a shared darkness woven into her very nature she had never looked upon, never wanted to acknowledge. A shadow loomed. Was it really her mother standing there, or a reflection of her own fears? "You can't afford to lose yourself again," the voice warned. But doubt now loomed larger, twisting the very foundation of her identity. Then, the ground trembled again. The storm's fury intensified. "No, not again," Lily screamed, barreling forward, her voice lost in the surge of chaos. "You can't tell me I'm part of this." And then the shadows spiraled tighter, crashing against her. Time felt like a rush, as reality itself folded. The truth emerged. An inheritance she never want. "You don't even realize what you are capable of, or who you belong to." Light burst forth. Deafening silence rang out as everything slipped consciousness, swirling away into a dark void. And as the shadow pulled them deeper into despair, leaving Lily gasping, she sensed something beyond, the essence of a forgotten heritage clawing back into her mind. And as the storm surged, filled with echoes of lost connections, nothing would ever be the same. In that moment, everything hung in the balance, and the essence of her being trembled in regard, rattling the very core of what she thought she understood. The truth loomed closer, threatening to consume them all. Was she merely a shadow of what had come before, or a force beyond comprehension? And that single question resonated louder than the storm, hanging in the air, daring her, begging for resolution. But the answers tantalized just out of reach. Lily felt the ground shift beneath her feet, shadows dancing around her as her heart. "No," Lily gasped, stepping back. "I refuse. Thou can't make me believe that I'm part of this nightmare. But Lisa's expression didn't falter. Thou art stronger than this, Lynn. Fight back, Lily stammered, the weight of Lisa's words anchoring her down. The darkness began to ebb, but then her mother's haunting voice cut through the chaos. Thou hast ignored the signs for too long. The shadows danced, pulling at her, urging her to choose sides. Panic clawed at her chest. She had to know what lay buried. Why? Why did you leave? The question slipped from her lips, raw and pleading. Her mother stepped forward, shadows swirling around her like a protective shroud. I had to keep you safe. A deafening crack echoed, silencing the wind as the ground heaved once more. The crowd gasped collectively, stepping back from the fiery intensity unraveling before them. Lily could feel the fear in the air, a tightening knot in her stomach. Safe? Or to protect yourself? The moment her words escaped, reality fractured. Suddenly, the waters surged, a monstrous wave rising from the depths, reflecting back all the pain and hurt that had been buried. It crashed down, and Lily felt the surge pulse through her, electrifying her very being. The crowd staggered. In the chaos, Edgar cried out, "Lily!" But she was lost in the tide, a flicker of determination igniting. "I will not be your puppet," she yelled, her voice piercing through the tempest, demanding to be heard. The shadows flickered, hesitating for just a moment. The air shimmered, and then it happened. A brilliant flash erupted, light colliding with darkness. For a heartbeat, everything paused, then reset. As the ripples settled, the creature emitted a bluster of rage, and with one powerful lunge, it shifted form into a face Lily recognized all too well. A gasp rippled through the crowd. "It can't be," she murmured, eyes widening in horror. "The Transformer. You just didn't want to believe. We are the legacy the sea demands." At that moment, clarity struck like lightning. Her heart sank. A lifetime of confusion and grief coalesced into a horrifying truth. "No!" she cried, but her voice quivered, suffocated by dread. "I can't be part of this." But it was too late. The truth unfolded. She was not just a victim, she was a key, a central player in the dark orchestrations of the ocean. In that instant, the crowd's collective gasp enveloped her like a shroud. "She's one of them!" someone uttered, the words igniting panic across the gathering. Edgar shouted, "Stay back!" The shadows tightened their grip. Lily stepped closer to the storm, determination edging her mind. "I won't let you take me. You won't drag me into your cycle." But as she spoke those words, she felt a strange warmth pulse through her. Something flickered, hovering just outside her vision. It was the dark-eyed child again, between them all, eyes wide and imploring. "It's true. You hold everything, Lily. They fear it." But even as those words resonated, her footing began to slip away. The ground splintered, breaking apart as the water surged forward, dragging deeper the voices of the lost. "Face what's buried," echoed through the storm. The shadows pulsed with life. Lily felt every sensation crashing down upon her, fear, anger, betrayal. But with everything swirling, a glimmer of something else sparked in her, hope shining brighter than the sun. She had to harness it. "Enough," she cried, raising her hands like a shield against the overwhelming tide. The air around her distorted, thrumming with magical energy, sparking like fireworks. Then, in a blinding flash, everything erupted, and suddenly, silence. As she stood amidst a swirling void, she caught her breath. All of it, The darkness, her past, and the shadows shifted into breathtaking clarity. She whispered into the silence. What happens now? In that moment, the darkness fractured, revealing faces she thought were lost. But something twisted. Again, everything shifted. Lily, her mother's voice soared, heavy with urgency, filled with longing. You have to understand what you've unlocked. Stop, she shouted, tears stinging in her eyes. Don't use me to justify the pain. But the shadows twisted again into something new, a revelation she couldn't grasp. The crowd lingered, whispering to each other in shock, as if coming to terms with a truth they hadn't expected. Edgar's face twisted with disbelief. What does this mean? Then came the twist of all twists. Just as she felt the tide turning, a ripple swept through the crowd, and a figure emerged. Someone she hadn't expected, her heart plummeting. It was Tammy, stepping forward from behind the waves, eyes blazing with fury. You've been blind. Lily's heart raced, stunned disbelief crashing against her reel. But before Tammy could speak, fear coiled around Lily like a heavy fog. You were gone. But the truth twisted again, the past like an indomitable wave crashing into her reality. You've all been caught in a cycle. Tammy spat, pointing toward the crowd. It's not just the waves. You hold the truth we've all feared to face. We were connected, drawn in and bound against our wills. The shadows grew restless as every pair of eyes turned to face her, captivated, fearful, yearning for understanding. No, Lily gasped, her voice trembling. You don't mean... The moment froze, compressing into an unbearable weight as time hung like a pendulum. But just then, shock reverberated through the crowd as they suddenly turned to her. Faces shifting into a mix of understanding and betrayal. How? Someone cried, breaking the tension. And as the stunned silence enveloped the space between them, the tide receded, just long enough for the light to appear again. The storm whipped up. Strum, I can't carry this weight. And as she faced the truths of everyone connected, hearts hung visibly heavy as every soul considered what lay buried. A dark pact forged within their shared past, a choice that had altered all of their lives forever. The shadows roared. But amid the chaos came one final flicker of hope. The dark-eyed child stepped forward once more, gaze steady and calm. We faced the darkness before, and we can do it again. Power surged through them, drawing bonds tighter between her and the rest. What we share is a legacy, and only together can we break free from what binds us. And just as reality spun away, Lily felt that glimmer of hope grow even stronger. But the storm threatened to pull back the light. They had a path, a choice, but it teetered precariously on the edge, shimmering in the chaos. Would they rise together, illuminated against the darkness, or would they remain trapped in the shadows? And as the storm howled, uncertainty loomed, leaving T. As if by instinct, warmth surged through her, a flame ignited by the hope of freedom. The crowd behind her, a tapestry of familiar faces, started echoing her conviction. We stand with you, Edgar shouted, and others joined in, voices rising like a chant. It felt like a wave of strength washing over her, a bond that reached deeper than the shadowy layers, trying to drown them all. Together, she cried. It was a simple command, but it carried the weight of everything they had been through. Lily stepped forward, breaking away from the constriction of shadows. You're right, Lisa. She looked around at the faces of those close to her, friends and family, intertwined in a shared struggle. Together we confront this legacy. With those words, the shadows surged, but so did the light. As if sensing the collective spirit, the tempest itself began to swirl, transforming into a breathtaking spectacle. Colors erupted. Blues, greens, and silvers danced through the storm, a plash of finite, but they stood firm together. As shadows loomed, Lily felt that old fear creeping back, but this time, it didn't define her. "You don't own me," she yelled, grounding herself in the strength of those behind her. The creature fell silent. A fleeting moment of disbelief painted across its monstrous face, and for the first time, Lily could see through the darkness, unearthing the truth intertwined with her destiny. We are not just shadows. We are not bound to this fate. Tammy stood beside her, shimmering like a beacon. This cycle ends here. Those words resonated, sparking across the crowd like wildfire. Together, they channeled their energy, pouring everything they had into the moment, breaking free from the chains that had held them captive for too long. The storm twisted violently now, shadows recoiling in mortal fear. The whispers of the past faded as brilliant light flooded the space, carving away the darkness, revealing those trapped within. Every lost child, every the tide turned, the storm shifting from a tumultuous scream to a harmonious cheer, a collaborative battle cry that echoed through the canopy of darkness. Suddenly, with a defiant roar, the creature burst apart, light spiraling outward, filling every crevice, every corner of the space. Echoes of laughter erupted as they finally saw it. The collective freedom they had fought for, the grasp of chains releasing one link at a time. With one final push, the light enveloped them all. Emotions raced, hearts pounding, as connections forged through grief and triumph bound them together. The storm was alive and trembling, vibrating with energy, and as they faced their past, they felt the weight of burdens recognized, understood, and finally shared. Lily blinked through the brightness. "Make your choice." The words reverberated, resonating deep within her core, sharp, confrontational, and liberating. But as the light settled, she felt something shift again. The wind picked up, the air from Tammy. Lily whispered in shock. "Lily," the figure called, stepping closer with an ethereal glow. "Thank you for bringing me back. Thank you for fighting for all of us." A wave of emotion surged within her. Grief, loss, but also an overwhelming gratitude. Together again, bound by the strength of connection, she felt hope emerging anew. Yet even as closure lingered, Lily understood that this was merely the beginning. As the remnants of darkness dissipated, a deeper truth surfaced. The whispers of the past still floated among the twilight, and she realized there would always be shadows tracing their steps. But now, they had the strength of unity. Today was a new dawn. Embracing the light, they gathered together, friends, family, lost souls reunited. All were here, forged through the fires of memory, standing together once more. Let's carry. But even as optimism blossomed, one final thought danced just out of reach. What awaited them next? Would the shadows return? Would buried truths surface once more? Would the bond they forged withstand the test of time? Let's choose wisely. Lily's heart thrummed, a gentle hum against the silence. We must lift each other up, come what may. And together, they stepped forward, ready to embrace whatever challenges lay ahead, as the shadows faded behind them. The storm settled, leaving behind remnants of their struggles, and setting forth on a path they would share forever. Now, we need you to take action. Don't wait. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will unravel deeper mysteries. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep this amazing community growing. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. We want to hear from everyone. And don't forget to share this video with